What is good, guys? Today we will be looking at how I ruined and almost blew my trading account taking these BTC setups. This was due to improper risk management, failing to keep to my rules, and the fear of missing out. So, without wasting any much time, let's head straight to it. So for BTC USD, I have been bearish on this guy, or I was bearish on this guy for some time, right? Looking at this from this area where I highlighted down to this point, right? So we're going to be discussing about exactly what I had my eyes locked on and exactly what I was looking out for. One of the areas where I messed up was from one setup around here. So let's go to the 4 hours in particular. Right, so I had a sell setup somewhere around here, yes. So I had a sell setup around here, and I'm going to be explaining why I took these sells, how I would have managed this trade, nicely. Okay, then now we can go back to the daily time frame. So I just explained some things in terms of structure. Now we have been quite bearish on BTC USD, right? And we had this, then volume to the downside, okay, and now we have this push. So I was expecting price to go lower to clear this external low that we've had here. Now that aside, price has not really given us that break and retest. That's why I'm looking at longing BTC at the moment and having this region as my target if possible, right? So it's going to be a very slow gradual process. Now just looking at this region and how I was actually looking at price, we can now see that we had push to the upside, then we had push to the downside, then we were here, price was making use of that POI, and we had volume down, right? This volume down again. So internal structure wise, we were very much bearish on this guy, right? So how was I supposed to deal with this? Now I do not really trade from the daily time frame POI. I do not trade aggressive from that POI. So I always want to see how my 4 hours time frame is reacting. So going down into the 4 hours just for you to have a picture of why I did that was for you to have a picture of what I was looking out for on the daily. So now we start having what volume to the downside, and on the 4 hours, right, external structure wise, we are also bearish because this was the last external structure that we had. Now this is that low. Now you understand why I was looking out for shorting this guy into this low. Okay, and then yeah, so price broke this internal structure, 4 hours internal structure. So we head to the downside. We had a pullback. I didn't get any setup there. Then we had volume dropping to the downside. Now we can now see what we had a break of structure here for us internal structure wise. We had a break there. Then we had another break here because I did not also get any entry opportunities here, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, so I didn't get anything there. All right, so particularly on this day, right, the 7th of February, I was looking out for price, after I saw this reaction from here. We had this POI there. So we had a reaction, right? And the things that I always ask myself is how is price pulling back? Now we can now see that we had a pullback this and then this. So price was pulling back using the 4 hours time frame. So we have a break of that high. So one of the things that I wanted to see, right, after the break of this high internal structure wise is I needed price to come and clear this low, and I needed to see price, taking that with body. So now we had volume to the downside. This guy cleared this low. We had a break of body. So I had a break of structure with body. So I had every single thing that I needed. So I took this guy right there, right? Had my stop loss above, and yep, this was the simple approach that I had to this trade. Now, I was very much looking at here, right, which is normal. I was looking at getting a 1 ratio 23R, right, from this trading position. Now, how did I mess up on this guy? Now, one of the things that I was supposed to do in terms of management was immediately I got into this trade from here and price cleared this low, I was supposed to take out some positions, right? So taking partials, right? That is my rule. I failed to do that, and then we had price push back, hit break even, and this particular trade was actually a break even trade, and it was messed up. Then we saw this volume right to the downside, and yeah, I didn't have any trading opportunities sincerely, right? So after that, what next happened was, so after that particular trade, I think still on the 4 hours time frame, I had a bullish setup. Yep, I did have, yep. So I was now looking at price like this, that if this, right, if we had a break of structure of this low, that means this was also a break, right? This is a break, then this is also a break. So I made use of somewhere around there as a POI. Okay. So I had another POI there because this was a break of structure for me, and this was a POI for me, right? Okay, so I was looking at how are we pulling back, right, from this guy. So I'll drop down to the 45 minutes to see what we likely had inside that region. Right, so we had this 45 minutes like this, then we had a break of structure there. So see that pullback up, down, taking here, up, down, then break of structure here. Nice and very clean setup with a good reaction from this point. Okay, so I think I entered either there or so, if I'm not mistaken. From the screenshots anyways, you're going to be seeing um, where I entered from in particular. So we had this, I had my stop loss around that low, then I was targeting this high for a sweet 1 to 4. So we had a little bit of reaction, right, price took that high, and then we came back, and then we cleared this guy. So the reason why I didn't take partials for this actually was because I usually want to see price get into 50% of my targets before I look out for either taking a little bit of partials or breaking even on that trade. So I want to see break of the high 50%, and then I break even. So this was absolutely another loss right after that guy, after the break even that we had. So what I think for me, this particular trade was actually managed properly, right? It was a good management, right, for me. So now what happened after then, right? So we had volume to the downside, price cleared this low, and then we had this, right? And it was just a mess. So how I was particularly looking at price was I wanted to see price pull back, right? So we had um this internal structure being broken, the 4 hours internal structure break. So I needed to see pull back right into this level before I'm interested in getting into a trade, to a buy setup. So we didn't see that happen. One of the things also that I was looking at is I was looking at price from a daily perspective, right? That okay, if at all I'm getting into my buys, right, I'm going to be having this region as my incomplete pullback. So I can be using there as targets, right? So any buy I get below that region, right, I can just buy into here, then before I'm interested in the sales. So now we had a break of structure here. So we had this internal structure, the internal daily structure here, right? And one of my rules is whenever I have this, I call this a flip zone. That's basically price reacting from a POI or reacting from an area, and then this. So basically, the last structure that is responsible for the volume is called for the break of structure or for volume, right, that leads to a break of structure is called the flip zone, right? So we had this region, which is our major level, right? So to some people, actually, you would say that you have, let's say, a POI here that you can sell from, which is actually very correct, right? But for me, how I look at price is I do not want to see price invalidating my flip zone, right? Else, if we get that invalidation, okay, um, there's a very high tendency that price is going to be continuing to the upside and not the downside. So seeing this, right, I was fully aware about this, and I was also fully aware that yes, we are going to be having, or we are most likely going to be having a reaction from this point, right? So I was looking at price from this perspective. Okay, now usually my rule states that because I have seen, right, my flip zone invalidated, I am not supposed to be getting into sell setups, right? Unless the 4 hours tells me otherwise. Okay, so unless the 4 hours tells me to, approach price, right? Now to sell, and I'm just going to be selling short term, not really long term, right? And then just having that in and out. Okay, so basically, how did I handle this? When I saw this volume and then I saw this, right? Usually I make use of the 4 hours more. So what I was supposed to anticipate here is because we have a daily time frame reaction there, and then we have this. Before I can sell, I need to see the 4 hours align. Okay, now seeing this guy here, why I need to see the 4 hours is I trade the 4 hours, and right, I trade majorly the 4 hours, and then we've had this break here. Okay, so remember we had this break, we had this break, and then for me to be able to get into any trade, I need to see the 4 hours agreeing with direction. Then I can short this guy into some level, let's say into here. I was basically looking at there, right? And then wait to see further reactions, and then before I get into this trade. So yeah, for this particular setup, I didn't get tagged sincerely because we had this 4 hours internal level there, right? So we had that order flow. So I think I was looking at trading this guy from this point. Okay, I was just looking at this. So price coming into the there, then seeing a reaction, or I was also waiting to see confirmations too in a situation where we don't see that. So how was price pulling back? We had this and then we had this. So I needed to see this break, retest, and that did not happen. Okay, now from everything that we can see here, right, we now see that price has taken this. So everything was pointing to, even the 4 hours was agreeing with, a lot of things that was happening. So I was looking at here in particular because this is my major level in terms of this new structure that is being created here. Okay, and then we have this flip zone level right here, right, just right here. So this was like a picture perfect scenario, right, where we have price induce on the higher time frame, bottom this. So we have that inducement, then we have our flip zone flipping. Now remember I said something that whenever your flip zone flips, you're supposed to start looking for that. Now this is a reaction for you, this is volume. So inducement, we've seen reaction from our daily time frame, internal POI, right? So I was supposed to be looking out for buys, that's one, or I am going to wait, okay, to basically have a reaction. But whenever we have this, there's a high chance of us going higher. So I had this in mind that what I was going to do was maybe try to short this guy, into, let's say, this region, right, just a little bit. Then maybe we can also see volume that's going to go and clear there anyways, but I was supposed to be looking for buys. That is just it. Now instead, what I did was I ignored this flip zone here, okay, and then I took this point as my POI. What did I do? So I took this point as my POI, okay, my 4 hours POI, and then I was trying to sell from that point, right? So I was looking at how are we pulling back based on this, right? Absolutely ignoring what was here, right? And it was, this is where the whole destruction came from, right? I had some unnecessary losses. So I was trying to just, get that in and out trade setup, which later played out anyways. But after I got hit twice, I wasn't really interested in these setups anymore. So So what did I do instead? I went down to the 45 minutes. Then after selecting that POI, then I asked myself, how is price pulling back, right? Then we had this level, and then we had this break. So I took one sell here, I got wiped. Okay, then I saw this as what? An inducement, which was actually an inducement. So I was looking at taking a sell down to this point. Now when I looked at how are we pulling back here, I think it was from a 1 minute perspective, but let's go to the 5 minutes. All right, so remember, this was that inducement area. This was our 45 minutes level. So I was looking at here as an inducement or possible level of, inducement. Then we had this, right? So a couple of things that we now had here was, okay, so our pullback was coming from the 5 minutes, right? So we had this guy here. So it's either we invalidate here, then we get those pullbacks, and then we can sell, or we get an internal structure. So we had this push to the downside, right? So I went in on a short here again. Just here, I tried to sell from here again. So remember, I had one loss already somewhere here. Then I'm having second loss. Now this was where I was like, man, what am I doing? What am I doing? Right? So just having unnecessary losses, right? Because I failed to keep to that rule, right? Although later, after I took this loss, right, I just went to sleep because this was midnight. This was like 3:25 a.m., right? So after that, price invalidated this guy, right? If I was still awake and I wanted to risk, right, immediately I saw that break, I could have maybe looked at getting in from this point, okay, and I would have actually recovered for this, but I wasn't interested because I knew that I had messed myself up by not sticking to my rule or anything. But if I was awake, then I would have just taken that guy from there and maybe get this 1 to 5, right? But I was not supposed to do anything. That's just the truth. And this ruined my portfolio, this ruined my account. Okay, now what I now later did was, I don't really know what I was thinking, sincerely, because later we had this 4 hours internal structure here, and I just went aggressive. To be honest, you'll see this trade from the screenshot. I went aggressive from that point, right? I was looking at also selling. I sold from that point. I had my stop loss there, just right there. Yes, this was a 1 to 3. I didn't really care about that because I was just so big on selling, and I was so ignorant of whatever it was that I was saying here, right? This inducement, this shift, right? I was just so big on selling and selling and selling because at this point we were already pulling back using the 4 hours. So before I get into at least invalidate here, right? Then maybe give us a little structure. Then when I get this break, I can now buy, or price just comes to here, I can now start looking for, maybe buying aggressive whatsoever. So I went in on a short again, right? And this was very, very poor because I would have been able to manage this nicely, right? So you can imagine I got how many losses? One loss on the buy. So let's go back to it. So I got one loss here. This is a 1, right? Then I had a 2, then I had a 3, then I had 4, 4 straight losses. And man, it really, really messed with my psychology, right? And the other poor management that I had. So, right, this is just a basically what I'm trying to pinpoint here is it is actually good for you to stick with how you do things, right? Focus on the rules that you have set for yourself, the trading system that you already have put in place, and not trying to frustrate, not trying to, I just want to make money, I just want to do this, blah, blah, blah. And then you end up getting your portfolio messed up, right? So this happens to everybody, it happens to your your big traders happens to beginners also, right? So this was how I almost, or this was how I ruined my account, right? So for now, I'm just focused on, I've learned my lesson the hard way again, and it's quite messed up. So for now, I'm just focused on buying BTC USD. I was supposed to have a setup somewhere around a buy setup somewhere around here, but we didn't get tagged. Right, that was yesterday. So I was looking at buying from this point, right? So price never got into there. Then I was also looking at price coming into here so that I can use lower time frame as confirmation, maybe something like this. They have a shift that would have actually gotten into the buys. So I didn't get into this buy at all. So right now what I'm doing is I'm just waiting to see if I can get more opportunities. Sorry, so that I can, get into the buy, and I'm going to, like I said, I'm going to be having very high target levels or target points. I'm going to be looking at getting price into $76,879. All right, so that is all for this video, guys. I hope you learned something from this. Stay tuned as we are going to be posting more